Management consulting is a highly sought after, highly paid, and prestigious career path that thousands and thousands of people want to get into every single year. But it's relatively competitive. So what college degree would actually give you the best chance of landing a job in management consulting? That's what I'm going to talk about today. The top 5 college degrees for management consulting. Now keep in mind, this is just my opinion, but with that being said, I did get a job myself at Bain & Company, and I've helped over 600 people get a job in management consulting as well. So I do have a lot of data and experience to work with. At the end of the video, I'm also going to share with you what to do if you don't have one of these top 5 degrees for management consulting. All right, let's get started. Number 5 to me is any liberal arts degree. Now, a lot of people, when they say, whoa, Davis, liberal arts degree? Really? How does having a liberal arts degree help me get a job in management consulting where we're not reading philosophy books, we're not talking about the environment, we're literally helping businesses? Well, I would have thought the same thing before I started working at Bain & Company. I was a liberal arts major myself as well. And it wasn't until I was on the other side of the table when I was helping recruit the next class of Bain consultants. And even now, when I'm helping people get jobs in management consulting, it becomes very clear to me why having a liberal arts degree actually gives you a leg up on the competition and other applicants. So what makes a liberal arts degree so attractive to recruiters and consulting firms? So there's 3 things that I want to highlight here. So first is ability to communicate. When you're studying a liberal arts, you're going to be studying from different subjects. And whenever you have to present your ideas, whether it's an essay at the end of the semester or you're in class debating with your other classmates, you have to be able to present your viewpoint and bring a lot of different viewpoints together and move your point forward. And this is exactly what we do in consulting. Companies are paying consulting firms hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars a year, not for you just to come in, look at some PowerPoint slides, but you're actually expected to create results. So can you actually convince the client about a certain action that you recommend that they take based on what you're seeing? And this is what we do every single day as a liberal arts major is we go to class, we learn, but we also have to make a convincing argument about why our classmates and our professor to believe a certain point that we do. Second is that liberal arts majors are general thinkers. We don't go deep into a subject, but we're able to talk about a wide variety of subjects. And this is what you do exactly in consulting is you work on different projects. And third, you're able to think about big pictures because we don't get particular into our degree about any particular subject. You have to be able to think about the big picture and how it relates. And in consulting, that's exactly what you do. When you work on different industries, you want to be able to bring in the expertise that you learn and acquire from all the other industries you worked with. But there's one thing that you need to demonstrate and that recruiters will question is, do you have the business interest to actually be a great consultant? The reason for this is that in our classes, we don't normally talk about businesses. We don't talk about oil and gas. We don't talk about supply chain issues. So you have to be able to demonstrate that not only can you have good communication skills and are a great thinker, but can you apply this to the business world? Luckily, there's a lot of things that you can do as a liberal arts major to demonstrate this. The 3 things that I would recommend is first, get internship and work experience that is business related. Second is take business classes. So even if your school, like mine, if you can't get access to business classes, there are certain subjects that are related to business. Like for example, I took a lot of statistics classes. Again, I took these statistics classes because I really enjoyed math and statistics. But it's only later that I realized, oh wait, this actually applies to business as well. And third is you can join business clubs. Again, the term business club is very wide, right? This could be anything from investing to pro bono consulting to an entrepreneurial club. So pick one that you're actually interested in. So again, I highly recommend getting relevant work and internship experience, joining a club, and taking classes outside of your major that would allow you to demonstrate that you can actually think in a business sense. Number 4 on my list are science majors. So a lot of consultants actually come from a science background and for many reasons. I'll share with you one example, which is recently we had a client named Tony who wanted to become a management consultant, but for most of his life, he thought he was going to be a doctor. So both his parents are doctors. And so they raised him and he thought he was going to be a doctor. There's some pressure from his parents that, hey, you should become a pre-med, go to medical school, become a doctor just like us. That's it. And Tony didn't really think much of it. In high school, he would do science Olympiad, he would do lab work, he would do everything that you would expect a incoming pre-med student to be able to do in college. But it wasn't until college where his senior year to be exact, where he thought, wow, the next step is I got to take the MCAT. And for the first time, he realized, I actually don't want to be a doctor. This is not interesting to me. I've been doing it because, well, I didn't really think about it. And the summer prior, he was actually working at a lab, and one of the people in the lab who came back was a consultant and shared with him that career path. And Tony all of a sudden wanted to become a management consultant. So when we started working, Tony was like, well, how do I actually demonstrate that I can actually show that I could be a great consultant? Because all I've done my 4 years are basically just lab work and preparing for this MCAT. And so I said, well, Tony, you won't worry about that because there's a lot of things that you'll be able to demonstrate. And Long story short, he was able to land pretty much every single interview that he wanted to apply to.
Wow.
Because having a science major allows you to demonstrate a couple of things on your first impression with recruiters. First off is your analytical thinking. So the fact that you've been able to do so many lab reports means that you can actually think through the numbers, you can think through the experiment results, and you'll be able to communicate those. Second is the attention to details, because the lab reports don't write themselves. And third is you're able to think in a hypothesis-driven manner. So a hypothesis-driven manner is exactly how we solve problems in consulting. So when you're working in management consulting and a business is bringing us in to solve a problem, they don't automatically say, hey, Davis, hey, McKinsey, go ahead and just do everything to solve this problem, because we don't have all the time. So we always have to think about what is the hypothesis that we're trying to solve for. Now, it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to have a chance at getting an interview if you have a science major. Tony still had to prove a couple of points here. So for example, he needed to prove that he had a business interest. And this is not just something that he wanted to do last minute because it was high paying. Second is you have to be able to demonstrate that you have the soft skills to be a consultant. So yes, you have the raw horsepower to think like a consultant with the hypothesis-driven approach, but can you actually have the soft skills to communicate? Do you have the communication skills to be a great consultant? And can you eventually be a leader? And then finally, are you comfortable taking an 80-20 approach and being able to make decisions without having all the information, all the data? And so in consulting, we have something called the 80-20 decision making. And what this means is that, are you able to identify the 20% of information you need that would give you 80% of the data points you're looking for and make a decision just based on that? So it's imperfect information, but can you do that? Luckily, there's a lot of things that you can do as a science major to demonstrate this. So first, you can join and then eventually lead a club. So it's not just enough to join a club. You actually want to show that you can actually be a leader. Because if people are voting you to be a leader of the club, it means that they think that you have the soft skills to lead them and grow the club. That's a really good sign. The second thing you can do is, besides joining and leading a club, is you want to demonstrate that you have good communication skills. So this could be done. You can join a speech and debate, or you actually just write for a student publication. And the third thing you can do is actually just get relevant internship experience. So for example, one of the things that you can do is to work at a biotech company and work on their business side. Very simple, right? That way you can continue to be invested, especially if you really enjoy the science side of your major, and to continue to have that, but also get exposure to the business. All right. And that concludes number 4. And by the way, if you're interested in becoming a management consultant, below this video, I'll include a link for you to book a free 30-minute strategy session with my team, where we'll walk you through step by step how to get from where you are, depending on what your major is, to how to land a job in management consulting. So the number 3 degree is computer science. So one of the clients that I've had recently is someone named Jason, who's about to graduate, and he's actually started his job in McKinsey. But his path towards starting a computer science degree, going to McKinsey, there's actually a story behind that, which is that he started college. He knew that he wanted to start his own tech company one day because he was very much inspired by all the tech companies going on, because he grew up in San Francisco. And what he wanted to do was eventually do that. So on first impression, it was easy for him to get an interview because, one, he could demonstrate that he had the data analytical skills to be able to be a great consultant. So due to all the programs and all the problem sets that he solved on campus, he was able to demonstrate that he not only can do Excel, which is pretty basic relative to all of the other skills, but he can actually program something on Python, on R, and be able to run regressions. Second, he was able to project manage, because the coding projects that he would work on, as well as the problem sets that we'd have for his major, demonstrated that he was able to take a very complicated program, break it down to individual parts, and actually work on them. And third is great attention to detail. Like other computer science majors, Jason spends a lot of time debugging his programs. So he can demonstrate that, yes, I do have great attention to detail. But there's also a bunch of other things that you want to be able to show recruiters. So first off, similar to science majors, you want to be able to show off that you actually have a business interest. Second, you want to demonstrate that you're not just someone who can do the analytics, but you also have the soft skills to be able to implement and get people to believe in what you're doing. The good news, though, is as a computer science major, there's a lot of ways for you to demonstrate these to recruiters. For example, you can take on a relevant internship experience, get involved in the business side of it. So not only are you launching new features or you're developing a new tool, but can you also be part of the marketing? Can you be part of the business operations? Can you be part of the sales development? So think about other opportunities where you can demonstrate that. Second, back on campus, you can also take on business projects. It doesn't have to be one that you build yourself. So for example, a lot of student campuses have a pro bono consulting group that students will work with local businesses. You can also demonstrate your communication skills through speech, through debate, or through writing through a campus publication. That concludes number 3 out of our top 5 list. So let's move on to number 2, which are engineering majors. I've had a chance to work with a lot of engineering majors, and I've noticed a few trends. So I'll share with you one story, which is with someone named Jessica, who we worked with last summer. And so Jessica, she was coming off of her summer and she's a mechanical engineering major. But one of the things she realized is that when she was working on the devices, so she was interning at a medical device company. And one thing she noticed is that while she was building out the contraptions and helping her team build out the contraptions, she wanted to be part of the strategic discussions. As much as she liked building out the actual devices itself, she was more curious about why are we building this, who we're building it, and where we're launching it to. All these strategic questions that get answered at a management level. And luckily for her, she has the number 2 degree that I would recommend, which is engineering. So there's a lot of advantages in the eyes of a recruiter when you're applying as an engineering degree. So first off is they're going to think that you already have really good analytical skills as well as project management skills. Because these projects that you build in engineering don't just magically happen one day. You actually have to scope it out. You actually have to think about what parts go into it. And you actually have to think about the numbers and what actually works. And as a byproduct of that, you also have great attention to detail because you wouldn't build a bridge, for example, and all of a sudden not do the calculations and the bridge collapse. But can you think about the bigger picture? Can you think about how a business operates? And do you have the communication skills to actually take your plan from just a plan to something that the whole team would want to adapt? So luckily, as an engineering major, there's a lot of things that you can do. First is demonstrate you actually have business experience. So this could be your traditional internship, but you can also start a side business as well to demonstrate that, nope, not only can I build things, I can actually manage a business. Second is take business classes outside your major. And third, you can join a business club, but even better, take a leadership in those business clubs. So all these things will make you shine. You don't have to do all of them, but do what you're passionate about as well as what you can demonstrate to a recruiter. Now we move to the number 1 on our list, number 1 major for management consulting. Now there's actually 2 degrees, which are business majors and finance majors. Now you might be thinking, great, David, so all I have to do is get a business major or a finance major, and then I automatically get an interview and offer at consulting, right? Well, it helps you, but there's also a lot of obstacles you still need to overcome, even with this number 1 major. In fact, last year, 1 out of 5, the actual number is actually 19%, of college graduates graduated with either a business major or a finance major. What? So that's a lot of people who apply to consulting with that. So you're competing against so many different people, especially if you have a business or finance major. You need a way to stand out. And there's a couple of quick ways that you can stand out. First is to manage your GPA. A higher GPA indicates that not only do you have business interests, but at least inside the classroom, you can also demonstrate that you have a great understanding of business. Second, outside the classroom, you're not just studying, but doing business. So this could be, for example, taking on work experience, internship experiences, starting your own business, whatever it is. You want to be able to demonstrate that outside the classroom, you're not just someone who's book smart, who's studying the theory of business, but you're actually applying it in the real world. So there you have it. That's the number 1 degree when it comes to getting a job in management consulting, which is to have a business or finance degree. So what about the rest of us? How do we get into consulting? So just because you're a Latin studies major or humanities major, it doesn't mean that you're automatically disqualified for even getting an interview with consulting firms. It just means that you have to be able to demonstrate that your degree and your studies and your experiences are relevant and can demonstrate that you could be a great consultant. And the good news though is, even if you didn't have one of these top 5 degrees I just shared with you, I'm going to share with you my advice for how to stand out. This advice comes from helping over 600 people start their career in management consulting. And trust me, a lot of the people, actually most of the people we work with, don't have one of these top 5 degrees I just shared with you. In fact, we've worked with so many journalist majors, so many language majors, and so many theater studies majors that at this point, I'm convinced that a major will help you, but it doesn't mean that you're automatically in or out. The first thing you want to do is show your motivation for why you want to work in consulting. So if you go in there and you have a Latin major and no business internship, no business clubs, nothing of interest, people will think, is this person just applying for any job that is available to them? You want to demonstrate that you have some interest in business. So for me, for example, I was a liberal arts major and I took a lot of statistics and other econometrics math classes. Again, I enjoy these classes, so it was me just enjoying it, and later on I realized it all fit together. Third is you want to take on leadership roles outside of the classroom. This demonstrates that you have the potential to eventually lead a team. It doesn't have to be a pre-professional or a business club. In fact, my leadership came from everything from a dance troupe to a magic society to a cultural group. So you can demonstrate leadership in many different ways. Fourth, I highly encourage you, especially if you don't have one of these top 5 majors, to network with consultants working at the firms. I'll share with you the story of one particular student I worked with, and he was a German studies major, and he thought there's no way, he's like, Davis, there's no way I'm able to network with anyone who is a German studies major. And so I told him, well, just go on LinkedIn, figure out who's working at the firms you want to, and just filter by German majors. And I'll tell you what, 100% of the people he reached out to got back to him and offered to meet him or at least have a phone call with him. The reason why this happens is that when you're part of a minority of groups, when others in that minority group reach out to you, you're more likely to help them. Finally, I want to encourage you to apply to firms, especially boutique firms, that will actually be advantageous given your major, especially if you want to continue doing what you're studying. So for example, if you're an environmental studies major, find boutique consulting firms that work with environmental groups because you're going to stand out naturally and you're going to get to continue to do and study what you're already passionate about. So there you have it. Now you know the top 5 college majors for management consulting, as well as what to do if you don't have one of these top 5 majors and you want to become a management consultant. But regardless of your major, know that almost anyone can become a management consultant. I know this because my team and I at my consulting offer have helped over 600 people from all different types of backgrounds and majors start their careers in management consulting. Here at my consulting offer, we're a team of former McKinsey, Bain, and BCG recruiters, interviewers, and consultants. And we have a proven process that has helped 98% of the people who work with us get a job in management consulting. And I want you to be our next success story. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide a link below this video where you can book a free strategy session with a member of my team. And we're going to walk you through step by step how to get from where you are to having a job in management consulting, regardless of your background or where you want to end up. So I'm excited to do that. But the good news is that you don't have to take my word for it. In fact, I want you to hear from someone who actually went through our program. So if you click the link somewhere next to my head here, is going to be a story from David, who was an engineering major who didn't believe that he can get a job in management consulting because 1, he was an engineering major. And also 2nd is that he didn't have much business knowledge to begin with. But after going through the process with us, he was able to land an offer both at Bain and BCG. All right, I'll see you in the next video.